Hello and welcome everyone. This is December 25th, 2022. Merry Christmas if you celebrate Christmas. Happy holidays if you're celebrating any other holiday. I hope today finds you happy, healthy, and in a wonderful state. Staying warm in the northern hemisphere, staying cool in the southern hemisphere. Trying to get everybody. Okay, today, studying from a master. I've really kind of been debating on whether to continue on. Hey, Merry Christmas, Thinker. Thanks for showing up. I keep kind of trying to figure out what I want to do with this live stream. I'm having fun with it right now. But the one thing I feel like I really want to do is make this as useful as possible to any other artist that wants to get into digital painting, especially with Krita, because, that's what I'm working with. So I thought, okay, well, let's study from a master right now, rather than a pro. We were studying from a pro yesterday, and I've always loved Bierstadt. This is going to be a huge canvas. I'm going to chop it down right after I make it really big. So we're going to study from Bierstadt right now. This painting, which is just beautiful. Oh, it's huge. I actually got it from the Google Art Project, which is fantastic. If you ever want to see art in its full glory, check out the Google Art Project. It's really nice. So this is Rocky Mountain Landscape by Bierstadt. So I figure what I'll do is we'll go through kind of compositional basics within this painting, some ideas of, or trying to pull out some ideas of what Bierstadt was doing within this painting to make it look so epic and get that distance going. Those crazy clouds, the foreground, the midground, the background, everything. And kind of try and pull it apart a bit. Let's change the size because too big and my computer wants to just die. Well, yeah, it just gets slower, and I don't like it being slow. So let's change the height to, actually let's do the width. Let's cut it in half, 3000. That'll work. But the question I have, especially for you, Thinker, because you show up all the time, so I want to really get your opinion on this, is what would be most helpful for you? I was thinking that possibly I could do a digital painting 101, with the knowledge that I've gained from working in digital art for only a few months now. It hasn't been a long time. But it would be more of a combination of, a traditional artist working, digitally and, kind of that conversion over. So starting from the very basics of drawing itself and even setting up the application and all the aspects of the application, and then moving forward with that like every day, one little thing at a time. That's what I was thinking about, but you may come up with something completely different, so I'm interested in what you have to say. And I'm going to start with a very base gray here. I may actually darken it a bit. Yeah, just a very neutral gray. And then we'll get going on this. And actually, what I think I might do is get rid of every idea of brush on this. Not worrying too much about brush itself, and just get the most basic. Let's see what the most basic brush I can get within Krita is. Probably this kind of flat pen. Yeah, no thrills to it. No frills at all. I wonder what they, oh yeah, look at that. It's just nothing. It's basic 1. Hey, I wanted a basic brush. This'll do it. I wanted to, the reason I'm doing that is I want to take the brush out of the equation, basically. It's, in the most part, not very necessary. So the first thing I want to do is establish the drawing. So, oh, that's a pretty huge brush at that size. So let's make it smaller at least. There we go. And then for me, I put Shift B for a straight line on my brush. And then you can hold Shift while you do that to make sure that it's, so if you do a line, you can hold Shift and it will stay on an axis, like up. I don't know what the degrees are in each of these, but it's pretty nice. So you can get perfectly horizontal by holding Shift with your, what kind of brush is that called? Maybe a line brush? It's this one here, line tool. I have it set up for Shift B. And what I'm going to do is just start drawing out this composition, just kind of figuring it out. And maybe I have the horizon line in the right place. No, I don't. It needs to be a little bit higher. Let's see. Yeah, a cool way to check your drawing is to just use a selection box. Yeah, so that's the not the horizon line, but the line where the water meets the mountains. If I had to guess, that's pretty close to where the horizon line is. Horizon is usually would be a bit above that, I would think. Thinker, what do you think? You still thinking? Oh, sorry, bad jokes. Bad jokes. So when I draw something from the beginning, number one is I don't care about making it perfect, so I'll do all these like little scratches and stuff everywhere. I'm scratching for accuracy. But I will remove all that because I was in the completely wrong place. What I start with is whatever's easiest, and that's with every kind of drawing. So I was able to establish that very simple line first, and through that I can kind of jump off from it because we have another line here of this little piece of land, so it's really close to the line that I established. And then we have some trees here, and this runs up the side of the mountain, it looks like. Oh, another thing I'm doing is I'm dropping verticals down, like visually, not specifically, like not like this. So I'm trying with my mind, my brain, to see, like, I'm drawing this tree here. I thought it was going to land there, but I was wrong. It's actually a little bit to the left. So trying to get some kind of accuracy. It actually helps if I do it physically, like I kind of trace it down a little bit. So just kind of going through this landscape part here. And this is I do this way of drawing all the time. And once you have something placed well, like this tree is placed well, you can jump off of it. You can use it. Like if you have one thing placed well, then you use it to place other things well. And then the more things you get placed accurately, the more you can use them to place other things accurately. So it's kind of like building a puzzle. You get one, you work with the edge pieces. I mean, that's what people mostly do when they're working with puzzles. They're like, okay, let's get the edges first. Let's set the boundaries for this image that we're going to build within a puzzle. Okay, he replied, awesome. As you've seen, I started oil painting about 5 years ago. I too am just starting digital painting. An artist's view of learning Krita is most helpful, including all struggles and mistakes. Oh yeah. Krita 101 from an artist perspective, like a traditional artist perspective. Is that what you mean? I think that's what you mean. Definitely. That would actually be a nice name for the stream. I like that idea. I'm gonna steal it. Yeah, that would be cool. That's something that I'm interested in. And when you take on stuff like this, when you say, okay, this is kind of cool, I want to do something like this. Um, you have to think about the long term. Not on everything, but for most things, like if I'm gonna make a commitment to it, I want to do it right. It's gonna take time and effort. Every single day, got to show up, got to do this, got to work on it, and got to commit to it for the long haul, for a long term, or else it's not going to be helpful for anybody. If I do like 4 or 5 of these streams of, uh, Krita 101 from an artist, traditional artist perspective, doing 3 of them, it's not going to help anybody. I would have to take it really far, I would think, for it to be really helpful. So, for me or anyone else, so I have to see, how motivated I am on this, and can that motivation last for, let's say, 6 months. 6 months of streams. How many days is that? Well, 30 times 6, 180 days. Wait, is that right? Yeah, get out the calculator. 6 times 30. Oh, look, my math is okay. 180 days. Okay, so that last thing I did was wrong. It was off. I think I might do that. I might start Krita 101 for traditional artist perspective. I was looking at other 101 tutorials, and just really quickly did a couple searches, and there's a lot of them out there. They focus more on kind of like the short term, like here's some idea on how to use Krita, and then let me do a time lapse of all my experience drawing this awesome face or something. Motivating, helpful, I don't know. It's like, how in depth do people want to go with this? And does that matter? Maybe it's just, if I want to go really in depth with it and help out people that are willing to stick around, figure it out with me, then that's cool. Because we could talk about things like, just setting up your canvas, setting up brushes, building your own brushes. If you do a perspective box over the large trees on the left, you can probably determine where the horizon line is more accurately. Oh yeah. Perspective box on the trees. The big tree thing right away. Let's try that. That's actually kind of a cool idea. So let's create a layer above it. I need something other than a black so we can see this. Let's go with orange, my favorite color. A little bit lighter. All right. I'm going to hit my Shift B again, actually, and then I'm going to make it smaller. 8 pixels, 7 pixels. Let's see what that looks like. Okay. Perspective box. And zoom in because... Oh, you're challenging me, thinker. That's awesome. I appreciate it. When I look at things, it's really difficult for me in a lot of ways to figure out, the perspective. If I've learned anything from Marshall Vandruff is if you want to figure out the perspective of anything, get it out of perspective first. Simplify it into a flat plane and then figure out its perspective. But, I'm not so sure about that right now. Okay, so let's do this. Let's go for just a basic perspective tool. And this is nice because you can just draw 4 points. There you go. So here's your basic grid, okay? So the first thing I want to figure out is how this tree itself fits on the ground plane, okay? That's usually where we start with. Ooh, that's interesting. I just drew a new perspective grid over it. No, I want to move these lines. Thank you. So what I can do, and I have this interesting floating X that happens here, and I'm almost 100% certain that that's my, vanishing point. I'm going to hold shift and see if I can lock these. Yes, it actually locks. Does it lock perfectly horizontal? Yes, it does. How about this way? Do I get a lock when I hold shift? No, I don't. Okay. So, oh darn it. This is kind of fiddly, actually. Grabbing these little handles, especially this one. It's not wanting to grab. Okay, I'll just work on the corners. Jeez. All right, I'll just mess with the corners. Okay. Oh, wow, that's the other perspective point. Okay, I really need to zoom in on this. Wow, this is challenging. Okay, that's getting annoying now. The annoying things with Krita. Okay, so the ground plane of the tree is what I'm trying to figure out here. And I'm going to try and keep it as flat as possible. I may do all this and still not know anything. It looks like the bottom of this tree is sitting right here. Okay. Well, I'm focusing more on the trunk rather than the whole tree, right? Maybe I should just focus on the whole tree. And thinkers here like yelling at the screen, no, don't do it that way. You idiot. Like Ren and Stimpy back in the day. Okay, I tell you what, let's put something down and then figure out if that is good. Okay, so that is the ground plane. All right. All right, let's try the front plane. No, back plane of the tree. Perspective on that tree is, it's not so, I mean, it doesn't change much because it's not gonna like jump into space that far because it's not that great. Although I will say when, if that's the real perspective of this, maybe it's gonna be thinner. Still messing with that ground plane. Huh. I mean, that puts my perspective, my vanishing point right, under this line here. All right, maybe the top plane. Let's look at the top plane. Let's try this. Let's do another one. 2, 3, 4. If I know anything about perspective, or anything about anything, really, trying to just figure it out without doing anything at all is, it doesn't help. What really helps is just throwing something down that is possibly tremendously inaccurate, and then fixing from there. Okay. This is really hard, thinker. I appreciate it. The challenge, definitely. Well, see, I know that wouldn't be correct because, I mean, if let me back up from the piece. I mean, the if the water's here, and if I look at the entirety of this image, the horizon line has to be just a little bit above it. It's not going to be way up here. The horizon line, there's no way the horizon line is way up there. So this needs to come. Okay, see, it doesn't allow me to grab something. Oh, I'm creating a. That's what I'm doing. When you hit the edges. Oh, that's really cool, actually. So when you create this perspective grid, let me fix, what I think it should be first. So this should come in this way, because the top of the tree is descending down in perspective. Like that. And I'm not sure if it's at that angle or a greater angle. Let's finish the box off. So if I grab this one, this side dot, I guess, that's closer to me, zoom in again, I can create a box that is the basic front plane for this whole grid, and it will attach to the side. I'm going to delete the one at the bottom now. But in order to continue extending that down, I need to use the corners. So I have a front plane and a top plane. Now if I wanted a bottom plane, I could do this, right? And then bring the further ones in to where, how thin I think that should be. I wonder what happens if I move it. Oh, look, it's like stretching the whole thing. Krita is fantastic. Just really cool. Now, in order for this to be accurate perspective, these two X's, so this is the X from the, I'm not sure what I'm creating there. I'm creating a new box. Hold on. This X is from the top plane, and this X right here is from the bottom plane. So in order for this to be accurate perspective, if I'm looking at a box, this is a 1-point perspective. Those X's have to be in the same place, exact same place. And it's my theory, so let's start with a theory, that the horizon line, see, and that's the other thing, is these points need to be on horizon line. But my theory is that the vanishing point is just going to be a little bit above the horizon line. I'm going to try and get it to the center. To the center line, and then I'm gonna bring it up, which means I have to kind of work with both of them. Up a bit more. So that's my theory. That's where I think the horizon line is and the vanishing point for this box. Okay, so this other X I have to align as well. So let's align it. Oh, how would you get the X all the way down there? Really? I would have to bring it out that far? Oh no, it was just I needed to do both at the same time. Something like this, like that. Not that far. Getting closer, getting closer. Bam. Okay, now I'm losing it. I was so close. What happened? I just have to go back and forth to each one. Okay, look at that. Now, the question is, does that work with the tree? How can you tell, right? How can you freaking tell if this is working with the tree? This is where it becomes difficult. Like, okay, I got this perspective grid, right? Let me switch to a different tool so it's not showing all that stuff. I have this box, right? Now, let me go back to the brush. Does that represent the box of the tree? I don't know. I feel like, honestly, I feel like the top plane is too extreme. It would be nice if I could like grab onto. Let me go back to my assistant tool. If I could grab onto one of these vanishing points and move it, but I can't. It's wanting me to create a box again. Okay. So now I'm thinking the vanishing point needs to go up. Let's bring it up to about right here. Okay, let's go a little. Oh no, not that far up. Alright, and then I have to do the same with this one. Yeah, to raise it up, you bring the lines out a bit. So that gets the distance. Alright, now let's zoom out and look at that one. Yeah, I am not certain if this awesome perspective grid by Krita is really helpful with, well, no, it's super helpful. It itself is super helpful, but trying to determine the perspective of a tree that's sitting there is really difficult. Like, I mean, I need Kim Jong-ji here. I'm so sorry he's gone. Yeah, thanks. Just a simple boy. How to start drawing as a complete beginner, right? You know, you start with boxes. Exactly. But I mean, I guess I could try here. Let's move my perspective box out of the way. Okay, let's try this. I'm gonna move this whole thing. Oh wow, look how I can do that. There you go. I can look at it from the side if I wanted to. How would I move every single one? Shift. Can I move every single one? Let me put it back where I wanted it. Okay. Maybe just the move tool. Okay. Well, I was wanting to move it out of the way, but I guess I don't need to. I guess what I can do is just hide the whole thing. And then what I can do here, oh, it's kind of nice because it's really light. I can still see it, but it's a light box. Let's try and figure out the tree itself. It's basic shape maybe. I guess we can go from the shadows here. I'm going to take the shadow shape. Very simple. I don't really care about being super exact with this. And the only thing that could be really hard with this, that makes the perspective really hard, is there's not any kind of concentric circles, going across the contour of this tree anywhere. I'm getting too detailed with this. Usually that could tell you some kind of idea. And of course this is from another artist, so it's not a photograph, so maybe his perspective is way off. We have no idea. I doubt it with Bierstadt, how just accurate he was with everything. I'm pretty sure he worked his perspective out first. Definitely. So, light side, dark side. Yeah, this is not easy. Especially with a super organic shape like that. Let's try something different. So for anybody that's just joining, what I'm trying to do, I'm looking at this amazing painting by Albert Bierstadt, okay? And I'm learning from him. 1800s landscape painter, just fantastic artist. And I want to learn from him in some way. I'm gonna remove all of my perspective lines, and let's do this. I'm going to go for a 2-point perspective grid. In order for this to work right, I have to think about focal lengths as well, because I could, let's say that the horizon line is right here. Okay, this is a guess. And if I put my perspective lines, see how cool this looks? I mean, I feel like I'm in the Matrix or something. It's really interesting. Okay, I'm going to delete that. If I put my perspective lines here, what's going to happen is you will get this. Let's put it to the side, like all the way over here on this mountain. So you would get this very extreme like angle on everything, and this is closer to like a wide angle lens on, like, your cell phones have a wide angle lens. If you want to make it even crazier, you bring it straight, really close in. Wow, that's really kind of cool, all the stuff you can do. Let me get rid of all these. Go away, thank you. So if I do the vanishing points really close, let me say we'll stay on the same kind of line. It's right here. Okay. This is a fisheye perspective. See, your two vanishing points, the closer they are together, you change your focal points in that way. What I want on this landscape is more like a portrait lens, and I'm thinking about photography here in a lot of ways. I want like a portrait lens or a zoom lens. And they don't call them a zoom lens, telephoto lens, okay? So in order to get a telephoto lens, my perspective lines, or my 2-point perspectives, are going to be way out here. Have you ever tried to draw or like figure out 2-point perspective on a city? And you look at a building, maybe from a photograph, and then you say, okay, well, I know that those lines go way off, and you're drawing on a piece of paper, and then you figure out, like, oh wow, well, the 2 points for this perspective would be 10 feet to the left of the paper and 10 feet to the right of the paper. That's when you're talking about this telephoto lens kind of thing. But what I'm trying to do here, I guess, is set up that perspective. Boy, that goes away completely. And see if it matches with what we have here, what Bierstadt is kind of put here. And it's really hard to do because all of this is organic shapes. I feel like I need to start with something simpler, honestly. Okay, what is the most simple part of this we can start with? All right, let's get rid of this one more time. I got my brush. I'm gonna hold shift and hit B for my line tool. And if I draw a line here, like this ridge on the very far right, I'm drawing a line across like these points on that ridge, okay? I'm gonna get a line that kind of goes straight down this way, and it's too small. It's hard to see. Let's do it again. So let's hit these points. I'll start at this one this time. Okay, so there's that line. So, and this is the assumption that this ridge over here is pretty flat, but the idea is that it's receding into space, and so it would probably cut off, you know, right there in some way on the horizon line. And so that's one piece of perspective. And so what I would need is a triangulation of several points. So in this instance, I would need maybe another one over here, but there's no definite kind of box anywhere. I think, you know, this could be best learned and understood if I look at, let me see, cityscape. What I'm doing, I'm going to go grab an image of a cityscape real quick. And I'm going to look for something that is 2-point perspective and something where you're on a street, like it's at ground level. I'm looking at a bunch of, here, let me just show you. Show, don't tell, Chris. Show, don't tell. So I just went to Pexels, which is a free photo site. It's actually really awesome for just getting free stock photos that I like to use on things like this. All of these are 1-point perspective, like that's 1 point. This is a fisheye perspective. I could tell that right away. Or 3-point perspective, if anything, but I can tell that it's a wide angle lens because of the curve of everything. I want something with some distance to it though. That looks like 1 point as well. And not where you're way up in the air. There's a lot of drone shots. I mean, very cool for selling imagery, but not so helpful for me right now. What is up with that? I see so many images where there's an image and some person's hand is reaching out. Not sure what that's all about. It's like, okay, you're reaching to the sky. We're all trying to do that. Wow, that's Dubai. Okay, I'm just looking through images now. Let's... There we go. This one should work. This guy here. I'm gonna do the free download on this. I'll just put it on my desktop. Save. Open desktop, free image. Okay. This should be much easier to work with because we got buildings, we have structure. We humans deal with structure a lot easier, especially with perspective in a lot of ways. All right, so I'm going to stick with my orange. I got an orange. Here's my brush. I'm going to make it a bit bigger. There we go. And the first thing I'm going to hit is this sidewalk. Because we got things going everywhere. We have a sidewalk that's going in one direction. We have this wharf in another direction. We have these buildings going in a different direction. But the purpose of this is to see where the perspective is. So I'm going to draw a line straight through this walk here and right through here. And these, right away, they cross right there. So there's one. Now let's get this building. Let's say something, you know, completely far away from the perspective line that I just drew. I'm going to take it down to there. Line this one up. Down to there. Oh, wow. They're all over the place. See, because you have different orientations for these buildings. So, and my hope is that these are going to match up in some place. By the way, doing all this, it's one of those things where, you know, I'm an artist just like you, and I'm learning. And it's all about figuring things out, right? Trying to figure out where perspective is, or trying to figure out a perspective for a particular image. And that's exactly what I'm doing. And I'm failing tremendously at it. So if there's anything, this is like a big jumble. It looks like a big star right there. It's pretty interesting. But look at this little one back here. Where's that one meeting? Look, these are all meeting in random spaces or places. But my point is this is part of being an artist, is kind of figuring this stuff out. And so many people like don't want to show this on a stream. I mean, I had a bunch of people like this just show up, you know, just recently, and then as I'm fumbling around, they leave. It's kind of funny. They're like, oh no, this is boring. This person's not awesome showing me something like fantastic every 3 seconds. Yeah, we don't want to see struggle. We don't want to see someone working hard. We want to see an easy route. That's where, unfortunately, where a lot of people want to see things. But I like showing the reality of stuff, not the beer commercial, right? Because that's what we usually get, is this beer commercial where 60 seconds from, you know, someone has a challenge at work to figuring out that challenge and having a beer after work because it's successful. Not me. It's like, this is the real life. And see, you know, what I realized on this image where I've become the issue is I can see the top of these, but I can't see the bottom. Can I figure out the perspective of one building just by seeing this? That's all I got. Well, I do have verticals. Let me draw this vertical straight down, and this vertical here straight down. Okay. At this point, I feel like I have to guess. I honestly feel like I have to guess. I mean, if I had to guess, the vanishing point's going to be right around in here somewhere. Like the horizon line is right around in here. And then maybe the bottom of the corner of this building is right there. And then this front plane is pretty straight, so I'm going to keep that straight. Now let's draw this down. Let's go past where we need to see. And there. Let me see. Shift R. What I could do is just clean up all these lines. Somewhat. That's the perspective of that building. Okay, let's use the perspective grid and match it to that building. That would be 1 point perspective, wouldn't it? Okay, let me bring my lines back. Not those. All right, I'm going to say it's right here. Okay. Let's draw a guide. It's like that's my horizon line. That's what's really annoying about a guide is I wish there has to be a way to kind of lock them so they don't get in the way, but that's just getting in the way. All right, let's do this. Let's drop the guide. See, I can't even use my my brush. It wants to move the guide. Okay. There's something I need to figure out on that one because it's really annoying. But basically, I want to try and drop this perspective on that line, but that's pretty close. You know, that does not fit at all. Like, so what I'm trying to do is get these lines to match up, at least with, you know, at this angle of the building, which is really sharp. And at no point does it do that. Can I move this? Yes, I can. What do these things do? Oh, jeez. Worst stream ever. Learning and failing. Yeah, I have no idea. I'm completely confused here. I'm the first one to admit it. Okay. If I do it this way, that's the perspective for that plane of the building, and that's the perspective for that plane of the building. And it's putting the horizon line right there, which is incorrect. I'm gonna line those up. So now I got that perfectly set, and that's that building. So if there's anything I do know, you know, you have to know where your horizon is, because everything in perspective goes back to your horizon line. Yeah, let's draw a horizon line. Here's my horizon line. And then if this is correct, then the sidewalk here will meet, the vanishing will meet directly on that horizon line. Ooh, it does. Look at that. Figured that out. Okay. Let me clean up these lines so you can see. So the top of this building is hitting the horizon line. The sidewalk, when I line it up, is it's meeting on the horizon line. All right, so that's 2 points. Let's do a third one. Shift B for this. So get the corner. Let's zoom in so I can see this and you can see this. So this is the corner of this building. And what's nice is when you're drawing these lines, you can just extend it out as far as you want, and then match the tiny line with what you're seeing, and then let go, and it draws. And then there's like a smaller building behind it that ends there. Oh, you know, one thing I didn't think of is all these lines going across the building for the different floors and things. Well, if anything, they are meeting all in the same place. Let me see. Yeah, that one. Well, somewhat of the same place. I mean, I'm kind of off on some of it. I could have defined one of those points and gotten a bit closer, I'm guessing. Yeah, okay. So established the horizon line. Now let's try something harder, a lot harder. Because I went to this image because I was working with an organic shape. And it was so hard to understand the perspective of an organic shape. I'm going to delete all those and... Okay, let's do this. I'm going to change the opacity on this layer so you can barely see it. Start a new layer, and then I'm going to zoom way in on a tree. Oh, it's like a really fluffy tree. I'm like, who can tell what's going on there? Okay, here's a very defined tree. What's the perspective of that tree? Well, now that I have a horizon line established, okay, what I can do, change the size of my brush. I know that everything is going to meet on that vanishing point. I know that the end of the left side of this tree is here. The end of the right side is here. So this is what I know, okay? Now let's make this a 1-point perspective box on this tree. And I'm going to say that the front plane of this tree, yeah, horizon line equals eye level. Thank you, thinker. That's exactly it. Like wherever you think your eye level is, that's horizon line. And actually, probably that's maybe the problem with this is because I feel like we're kind of elevated in this image here by Bierstadt. It's like you're kind of off the ground a bit, like you're on a drone. So what do you do if you're on a drone, thinker? Yeah, well, I guess your eye level is a lot higher up, and that would change the perspective. Maybe is this image we high up? Yeah, we're pretty high up. Look, we're above the ground here. I mean, if I zoom in over here, I can see the top of these poles, right? You know, really well. All right, let's go back to this tree, though. And the tree's going to be more of a cylinder, but I'm gonna turn it into a box, basically. So I'm going to say that the top front plane of this tree is there. And why am I cutting this off right here is because yeah, I don't know. Why am I cutting that off? I figured I could see some of the top of the tree. We know that the water is level. At sea level, yeah. Yeah, water is completely level, but how is that going to help with perspective? Yeah, I don't see how that would help. I mean, I don't see how it would help identify the horizon line at least. Yeah, not sure. Maybe if you come up with something, we can work on it. But if this is my horizon line and I'm looking at this tree, these corners are going to meet on that horizon line. It's, you know, if I take this box to infinity, okay, that's where it's going to meet in the center. All four of those. So probably need to go ahead and draw the, oops. Go ahead and draw the top of this. Now we figure out where the back of the tree is. And I feel like it's easier to do that on the ground. And then we can connect points. So let's say the perspective is like this. 1 point perspective would be in the center. So it's going to point up this way. I'll draw it there. Yeah, something like that. This is like I'm roughing this in, basically. Now that I have those two lines, that would be my box of the tree. It's all based on the horizon line. Okay, that's a single point perspective. What if we did it, let's see if we can find a tree to do 2 point perspective on. don't really like any of these trees. Not at all. And I like working with imagery because you know it's real, you know? I'm gonna go grab another image. Okay. City. There's the image I picked before. Be cool if I could find a boxy tree. A very manicured tree. Or any organic shape that has... Here you go. Alright, this is going to be a really strange perspective, but it's got organic and buildings and everything everywhere. Oh, I'm going to remind you, Thinker, that this was supposed to be a half an hour stream on Christmas Day. Okay? Here I am, like, almost an hour into this. You ask one question and I'm off, man. I'm, like, deep into learning this. But that's the best thing about it, is if you come up with your own issues and problems and you're like, okay, let's figure this out, you retain it so much more than if someone just says, hey, this is how you're supposed to figure this out. I did that when I was figuring out atmospheric perspective and how it affects value and color. I could have read it in a book, but I would have forgotten it right away. But what really helps you tremendously is if you come up with your own issues and you say, oh, where is the perspective on this? Let me deal with the knowledge that I have and try to figure it out. So horizon line on this one is kind of easy. I mean, we can see it out here. So let's throw that in. And I'm not going to worry about perspective grid. I'm going to be, you know, even though it's really awesome on Krita, I'm not going to play with it right now. I think it's confusing me more than anything. Hey, you wanted me to opine. I love that word. Go spend time with your family. Now they're still asleep. So it's good. I will be getting a snack soon though, and that's alright. What I'm saying is that, or my point to that tirade was basically, thank you. As I complain, I was basically saying like, wow, you can ask a question like this and I'm just having so much fun with it. And you can barely see that orange. Let's change it to a different color. Something that you can't miss. Oof. Maybe just a bigger brush. Yeah, that's close enough. Okay. So there's our horizon line right there. 2-point perspective. We need to have, and I'm going to deal with this building up front, okay? So we have our horizon line. That's the most important. Now, the next most important is Shift B for the line tool. And this, let's see what kind of perspective this is. Is it a fisheye or a wide angle or a telephoto? I'm going to say that this is telephoto because holy crap, I'm going way off the canvas. Okay, so that's going to eventually go way the heck out and hit the horizon line. And then I'm going to take the other side of this roof and I need to zoom way the heck out. And I'm going to take that off to said horizon line. So 2 points. That's what makes it 2 points perspective, is when you draw out the front or the side, those points will hit the horizon line. You got 2 points, 2 point perspective. That's not going to match with every other building. You can see this building back here is in a different orientation. It's not perfectly straight with this building, so it's going to have its own perspective. But what I can do is I can look at the top of this roof, which I should zoom out first before I do that. See where this goes off to. well, I don't even have to see. I mean, as long as I match that straight line to the top of the building correctly, it it will go through the horizon line. Yeah. And then I can take these lines here and throw those off the top of these windows. Go off that way. That gets pretty extreme there. Interesting. And then Thinker's gonna say, well, how do you figure out the pitch of the roof? Aha! That's where it gets really fun. I forget what you call it. You call it a... There's a term for that. To figure out the angle of this pitch in perspective. Like it's a vertical horizon line that you draw to get that. And I'd have to watch Marshall Vandress' video on perspective again to see that. But it's actually pretty fantastic. Okay, let's look at this house here. We will be able to see at least one perspective line on this, and I can tell right away that we can just draw it right out to the horizon line. And so the vanishing point for that building ends there. And I should be able to just match it up one point to another point all the way there, and all those lines will match up. There we go. There we go. So that's good. That's real good. Now, the hard part. The real hard part is I have all these perspective lines, but what is the perspective of this darn tree? Okay? How do you think about organic shapes in perspective? Well, we know that we're over the top of the tree. Okay? And now I'm going to bring out my perspective tool from Krita and see if what's really helpful is I have this like kind of sidewalk down here, so I can kind of look at that as well and figure this out. But it's 2-point perspective, so we're gonna see an edge somewhere, just like the edge of this building here, and we're gonna have perspective lines that go off somewhere on the tree. So let's just guess at it right now. So let's say that the front of this tree starts here and goes down to here, or the right front. And I'm going to follow the line of those bricks. And I know that this angle will not work because it's not pointing towards the horizon line. But this angle would work, pointing up towards the horizon line. Maybe something like that. Now, if I did that right, there should be this little X that shows up somewhere. There it is. It went in and out, like it's way out there. It's it's off the side of the screen, like I can't even see it. Well, see if I can bring it in. Find the darn X. Okay, there it is. You can see the X out here. What I would love is if I could just grab the X and put it on the horizon line, okay? And then that would change the angle in some way, but I can't do that. Wow, I just barely touched that, and this thing just flies because it's so tiny. Tiny little tree. All right, let's do the other side. I mean, that's not really correct perspective, but it would probably be up like that. This would be down a little bit. All right, let's do the other side. We can just extend that out, that box there, And can we see the X for this side? No, we can't. So like that. And I'm getting it close to the horizon line. Not super close. I mean, thanks to this little sidewalk down here, it's actually it's being very helpful. Let's extend that side out. And then let's see if we can attach them. That would be pretty cool if you could attach both of them. It doesn't look like you can. Maybe if my perspective was correct. So there's my cage for the tree. There's no tree inside of it because I got a 3D form over top a two-dimensional image. It was actually really helpful for just kind of understanding that. I mean, it was a very easy tree to work with. And this is actually 3-point perspective, honestly. I mean, it would be impossible to see the third point, but the third point would be down here. Like these lines would meet eventually, like a million miles below. Yeah. Okay. Everything I learned or worked on then, is that going to help me to figure out the original question that led me onto an hour of working with this, of the trees here? I think so. I think it would. I think it will. Okay. First thing, establish your horizon line. So let's do that. Let's guess it for right now. So that this is my horizon line. My guess is it's going to be a little bit here, like my eye level. Thank you for that. Is going to be high, raised up because we're not on the ground. We're like kind of elevated above it a little bit. So yeah, right about there. Got to have that first. Now, what is the perspective of these trees? Let's do a 2-point perspective. Let's say that this tree here in the front is the corner. Let's establish that corner. And let's draw to this tree. Wow. Would that be way the hell out there? I guess so. Maybe this tree is... and I'm doing it by grouping, grouping all the trees together. Maybe out that way. And then those points would have to match somewhere. This one would have to match like forever far out. Yeah, maybe the grouping of the trees is a bad idea because each item is going to have, like we learned with the buildings, that each one is going to have its own perspective, although these are really close together. All right, let's try with the perspective tool. 2-point perspective on the tree that I was learning with before. So the one thing we did learn is that, let me see, if I do the edge right here, let's make it vertical, I'll hold shift, and all the way up to the top of the tree, I do know that, and this will be the right side, I do know that it's going to point down towards the horizon line, and I can take that X and just stop it there. It's probably not super accurate, maybe this goes down further, and then this point goes like that. So I'm on the horizon line with that one. Now this, as its 2-point perspective, would also be on the horizon line. So we need to bring this down. Bring that one up. It's an extreme perspective for this tree. And now what's interesting about this is the purpose that we had on this thinker is like, because your question was, if you do a perspective box over the large trees on the left, you can probably determine where the horizon line is more accurately. I'm going to disagree with that. Well, I mean, you said probably, so I'm going to say no. I mean, especially with an organic shape, it's almost like I had to identify the horizon line just to figure out that organic shape. And that could be just a failing of myself, you know? What about this? Let's say that we do this whole ridge here, turn it into a wall. Okay. I mean, that works. Look at that. I mean, of course I had to like kind of mess with this guy to get it to, it could be there. It could be there, you know? But I guess in the end, does it matter? As long as it looks accurate, as long as it looks like it's going into space? Like, no, I guess it does matter. I would say it matters. Well, anyway. Hopefully this was helpful in some rambly kind of random way all over the place. But it's 4:30 now. I've been on this stream for a lot longer than I originally determined, but it was extremely helpful to really get another like look into perspective. Fantastic. So thanks a lot, Thinker, for asking the question and sending me down this kind of road. It's this, like I said, it's this kind of stuff that really helps us figure out things, you know, an active approach to learning. So I love it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take a screenshot of this, and this is going to be the integration of my daily art day. See, here's the image, and I will save this, and then it'll be, I'm really organized with all this. So 2022 12, today is the 25th. Daily art day 3621. That's 3,621 days in a row, guys. Awesome. Chris Bevan, digital learning perspective with Thinker. 12, 25, 2022. There we go. Thank you so much. I appreciate the question. That was really awesome. And I think tomorrow I'm going to start creating streams that are all about Krita 101 from a traditional artist perspective. I need to think of a smaller title because it's a little bit wordy for titles. Because you have to have what you do every day in here, like what is today about, and then like a reference to, you know, what the day, the whole thing is about. But this was a lot of fun, and tomorrow we'll start that, and I'll have to figure out where we're going to start. That will be interesting and not too weird at the beginning. It'll be easy to start with, you know, how to set up Krita and how to set up this, but at the beginning, like maybe that's kind of boring. I don't know. What do you? One last question, Thinker. Should I start with, like, how to set up Krita, how to, you know, all the controls and things like that, and basic brushes, or should I just get right into like drawing something? And worry about the interface as we go. I'm actually going to save this document while you're thinking about that. as. I forgot to change the type. This one, and I want it to stay Krita document. Okay. All right, I can get rid of these. I don't think I need those. It was very helpful, but don't really need it. Oh. File, open recent. You guys will get a look at my entire day as I do this. There you go. That's the original painting we were working on. Well, answer my question, Thinker, when you get a chance, maybe in the comments, or shoot me a message. Yeah, and you can use my personal email. I won't... Oh, no, there's a message. The shortcut keys and key combinations would be helpful. Basic setup can be gotten anywhere except as it may pertain to what an artist would do, definitely. Oh, yeah, that's true. Okay. Yeah, that's where we will start tomorrow. And, you know, I have, man, I have a lot to share. I really have a lot to share, and I think it would be extremely helpful for you and everyone else. I can't wait. I'm excited. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and stay safe. I hope you guys have a wonderful Christmas with your families and get lots of cool gifts if you celebrate Christmas. If not, just have a wonderful, awesome day. Talk to you later. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.